Hey everybody, Blugoblin here. Thank you for joining me for my comic book review for the ending of February 2013. This was quite an interesting month, and so we have to see it end, and we're getting ready for March next week. So without further ado, I'm going to get to it here in just a minute. But before I do, I always like to do my honorable things, like give a shout out to my student, TheMtVernonKid, who last night did a live Q&A session for his Real Talk channel, and I got involved with it, and it seemed like he was just having a blast with it. I had a blast with it. My girlfriend jumped into the conversation. She was putting in some questions. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think he especially enjoyed it. Seeing him hug his My Pet Monster was hilarious. Love that stuff. And Chris, bro fist for you, man. Another thing I want to say is there's not going to be a pick of the week this week because I wasn't able to get Astonishing X-Men this week due to a shipping error, but I still got it on order, and I'll get it when I can. My dear friend Samantha on Tumblr told me it was great, and of course that just makes me want it even more. Thanks, Sam. Really appreciate it. Just kidding, sweetie. But no, I'm not going to be reviewing Batman Incorporated issue number 8 on here because I didn't buy it, but I did read it. I'll be reviewing it on my Tumblr page. Just don't know when right now, so stay tuned for that. Plus, go to my Blugoblin X channel. I just posted a music video tribute to Damien, and I think y'all enjoy it. It took me a couple hours to put it together, so please watch and enjoy. Give me some feedback. What do you think about it? You know, I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget about my friends at Dark Avenger Inc, Dark Avenger Inc Plus. They could use some subscribers, so subscribe to them. You know, I'll put the links in the description. You know I will. Now, on to the books. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 DCs, 3 Marvels, and we got a new arrival on here, so get ready for that. We're going to start with DC and end with Marvel. Remember, no picks of the week, because it wouldn't be fair. Because hell, if I'd have gotten Astonishing X-Men, who knows? Maybe it would have been. You know, don't want to do unfairness here, especially to comic books. Did that make any sense? I don't think it did. We're going to start with Aquaman number 17. This is the epilogue of the Throne of Atlantis. Now, I did read Justice League number 17. It was okay for what it was. It was a nice conclusion. It was a nice conclusion to Throne of Atlantis with a lot of big page spreads from Ivan Reyes and everything like that. So, yeah, for what it was worth, I thought it was okay. I was a little disappointed that there was that it seemed to focus heavily on the big spreads of artwork. It seemed like the artwork was trying to overshadow the storytelling, but that's just my opinion. But the ending to the story, for what it was good, despite it being Jeff Johns' Clubhouse. But here we are with Aquaman, which in my opinion is the only book that Jeff Johns is doing a stellar job on. We got Paul Pelletier on the artwork, and I'm sorry if I butchered that name. This was really well done. I thought it was nice. You know, Arthur is, you know, once again the king of Atlantis. He doesn't want to be, but he feels like he has to be. He feels like he owes it to Atlantis, and he asks Mira to come with him, and Mira basically, you know, just tells him, he's like, you know why I can't go with you. And it's just this wasn't too heavy on the action. It was really heavy on the storytelling, especially for Arthur. I mean, wow, Arthur is just so emotionally torn. He doesn't know what to do. You know, he says that he knows, but deep down, I don't really believe he knows what he wants. he doesn't want to condemn the surface world, but he doesn't want to be the king of Atlantis, because going back to being the king of Atlantis means he might not ever have a life on the surface world ever again. It might result in that, and plus, Mira, his wife, she can't go with him. She says, we all know what, she said he knows why, but he asks her anyway, because, he loves her. That's his wife. But, yeah, it is what it is. It was really, really well told. We get a pretty detailed meeting between Arthur and Amanda Waller, and then we learn what's going on with Mira, and then we learn who's going after her. Spoiler, it's Amanda Waller. Why can't I say I'm surprised? Amanda Waller, despite her change in appearance, she is still what my old mentor Craig said, the queen bitch of the DC universe. How you doing, Craig? But this book mainly focuses on the storytelling and the cliffhanger. Yeah, the cliffhanger. Wow. Okay. Don't know what to think about it yet, but it's one of those cliffhangers where I go, interesting. I'd like to see where this goes. I know Jeff Johnson's not going to stay with Aquaman too much longer. He's probably going to leave this series around the same time he's leaving Green Lantern. But, for this, wasn't the best issue of the series. Without question, was not the best issue. But I did enjoy it. It was a good read for what it was. The artwork was great. Fits well. Very nice. I enjoyed it. Alright, next up, Batman, The Dark Knight, number 17. Battling back a wonderland of madness. I gotta say though, I do like that cover. I really do appreciate this series because this particular series of Batman focuses heavily on the old school villains. Villains like Bane, Scarecrow, and then here we got the Mad Hatter. I'm like, yeah, okay, nice. This is nice. Greg Hurwitz and Ethan Van Sciver. God, Ethan Van Sciver. Love the artwork. The artwork is beautiful in here. We don't really see that much of a confrontation at all between Batman and the Mad Hatter. Not at all, period. So this cover is a little misleading. But the story in here focuses on more character development for the Mad Hatter. We get a look at his past, from when he was a kid, and we get to see the Alice that he chased when he was a kid, and the story that involved around it. It was surprisingly pleasant. For a story involving, the Mad Hatter's past, I was expecting something crazy and sad and, heartbreaking. It's like, no, his memories of Alice were actually really pleasant. His parents take him and Alice to an amusement park, and they have a great time, and that's where the story from Jervis's past, pauses in this book. It ends, it ends with him saying, that was one of the best days of my life. I wish it would have never ended. And I'm like, wow, that was surprisingly pleasant for such a twisted villain. Oh, I don't know. Wow, that kind of surprised me. But we find out what Jervis is actually doing. He's actually oh god, what's the term that Bruce used? I think he said it was like, buying his captives or something like that. And it's like Jervis is like buying companies, and he's like selling his mind control hats all over the city in specific places. And I'm like, okay, he's buying out companies, making them his own, and manufacturing his. You know what? That's pretty damn clever. And we get reminders of just how sick and how twisted and just how cold-hearted Jervis can be at times. It's like, he's at like one of his factories where some of his clothes are being made, and one of his designers is like, that pocket's slightly crooked. And he's like, it should be this degree angle. You got it here. He said, it doesn't look so crooked to me. And he takes the guy and snaps his neck and he goes, how's it look now? And I'm like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! I don't want to work for that guy. But nice. And the book ends, it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, so to say, but the way the book ends, I'm like, whoa. You know, it's one of those whoa kind of endings. It wasn't disturbing, it's just one of those that just makes you go, really? Okay. I'll go with it. You know, and it was very nice. I mean, Greg Hurwitz knows his shit when it comes to, you know, the psychological Batman storytelling. This is good. This is really good stuff. I can't wait to see how well the story progresses. I'd say pick this up. If you're a Batman fan, you'll love this. This is good. Alright, next up, a book that I almost spoiled to Chris last night on his Q&A session. Flash, number 17. I wasn't aware he didn't read it at that point in time. He probably read it now, but, you know, Chris, if you're watching, I'll try not to spoil it if you haven't read this yet. This is the conclusion to the guerrilla warfare story involving Gorilla Grodd. And I'll admit, it ended better than I thought it was going to be, because earlier in the story, Barry was willing to give up, just give up, surrender. You know, talk about self-sacrifice, but Barry was doing it, in my opinion, the wrong way. You know, doing it without actually thinking. I mean, just because you give up, you surrender yourself, do you actually believe Gorilla Grodd's going to let all these people alone? No, of course not. And so the fight between Barry and Gorilla Grodd actually ends inside the Speed Force, and it goes well for Barry. And it's like, I love how Barry proclaims it to Gorilla Grodd. He's like, hey, Grodd, we're in my land now. We're in the Speed Force. Here, I am king. And he just wails on him a lot with the speedy punches and kicks and everything. It was a really good fight. I mean, he beat Grodd at his own game, kinda, sorta, and it was really well done. He gets Iris and the people trapped in the Speed Force out, and unfortunately, as soon as he gets Iris out, we get right to an awkward moment, and I'm just like, oh, damn, really? Oh, but I'm not going to ruin that. Just read this book, and once you see him rescue Iris, it immediately leads to a very awkward moment. It's just, wow. Wow, really. It was very nice. The gorillas realized that maybe Grodd isn't the oh-so brilliant leader they assumed him to be, and they actually retreat. And from what I read, it kind of looks like the gorillas are ready to basically say, screw you, Grodd, you know, and just be on their own, which could lead to interesting stories in the future, but right now I'm not so sure. But I'm sure what everybody's talking about is the last page. And I'm going to be nice and say, just pick this book up and read it. Read the story that concludes the fight with Gorilla Grodd, and then get a look at the last page. Oh boy. Or should I say, oh my. My God. I can't even give a hint. I can't even give a clue. I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna ruin anything. Just look at that last page. Damn. Alright, moving on. Red Lanterns number 17. This is part 4 of Wrath of the First Lantern. Peter Milligan, Miguel Sepulveda. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm very, very sorry. I try. But Peter Milligan still does a good job with the writing. Spoiler alert, another misleading cover. This doesn't happen at all. Although I kind of wish it would have, because man, that would have been good stuff to see. But all this basically was Atrocitus looking for the artifact where the Guardians stored away their emotions. He feels like they would be easier prey if they got their emotions back, which makes sense. I mean, if the Guardians got their emotions back, then maybe, just maybe, they would be easier to kill. I mean, or they would realize what complete dicks they've been this whole time, and realize, you know what, gee, we fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really rooting for Atrocitus here. Very nicely done. The story was well written. We get some pretty dramatic storytelling involving Atrocitus, his hatred for Corona in here. Very well done in here. The only thing that hurts it is that it really doesn't say much about the First Lantern until you get to the last page, because that's when he shows up. I'm like, okay, you're beginning the Red Lantern tie-in to Wrath of the First Lantern, and he doesn't show up until the very, very end of the book. That's kind of disappointing, because I would like to have seen more of the First Lantern play a bigger role in this particular issue. I mean, probably not like he did in Green Lantern Corps or Green Lantern New Guardians, but at least something better than what we got. So it kind of hurts the book a little bit. But with that being said, this was still a great read. I really enjoyed it, and I really do think that sometimes Red Lanterns can be a bit of an underrated title. I really believe that you should give your time and your money to this and give it a look, and you might like what you read. I'm not promising that, I'm not guaranteeing that, but I really do believe it's worth your time. This was a really good read, and I did enjoy it, even though it had a bit of a disappointing ending. But then again, that's just my opinion and my opinion only. You can agree with me or you can disagree with me. That's fine. Just don't troll on me about it, okay? But I still do recommend picking this book up. This was nice. This was nicely done. All right, now we're gonna end this with Marvel. We got 3 books here, including a new arrival. Starting off with Guardians of the Galaxy 0.1. Yep, I had to get this. I saw it on the shelf. My girlfriend's mother recommended that I get it, and Sarah, thank you. Thank you for the recommendation. I really enjoyed this. Had I gotten all the books I got this week, I think it could have been a safe bet that maybe, just maybe, this would have ended up being my pick of the week. May have been. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the board and bag here for just a minute. There is a specific purpose as to why, but I'll get to that when I get to that point. But the first thing I want to say is, Brian Michael Bendis, thank you. I don't know what it is. You know, a couple years ago I might have been giving you shit, but wow, you're doing your homework now, buddy, and you've been nailing it with a lot of titles, especially with the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff, the Uncanny X-Men stuff, the all-new X-Men stuff. I mean, you're really doing a good job with this stuff. And, oh, man, Steve McNiven on the artwork. How could you do any better? Wow. But the artwork in here is just fantastic. And we get to see, you know, a backstory / origin of, you know, Peter Quill, Star-Lord. You know, and it's nicely told. There's some minor stereotypes in this backstory, but for the storytelling that we get, it works, and it's so nicely done. And then of course we got to add in a stereotypical heartbreaking moment that we've seen so many times, but every time we see it, it just hits us right in the heart. And just such nice storytelling, really, really well done. I couldn't get enough of this. I actually read this like 2 or 3 times, and here I am going to read it again live on camera. I just couldn't get over how well done this was, and I really, really enjoyed this. I'd be willing to bet this would have been the pick of the week had I actually thought about doing it. But you know, Peter Quill's backstory was very nicely done. We get to see at the end of the book, we get to see the entire team here assembled. We got Iron Man on here, of course, but of course I'm pretty sure Gamora and you know, Chris told me I would basically fall in love with her, and he might be right. But I'm sure the character that everybody's going to talk about is right there, Rocket Raccoon. Yeah, I'm willing to bet he's going to be the one that everybody's going to talk about. And I'm sure when the Guardians of the Galaxy movie's coming out, I'm sure Marvel's going to slap Rocket Raccoon on every title. They're going to turn him into the next Deadpool or next Wolverine. Just slap him in every book, guest appearance, tie-ins, one-shots, crossovers, the works. I'm not particularly ready for that, but what I am ready for is to get more and more of this. This was good. I mean, and this is the first time I've read Guardians of the Galaxy, and I gotta say, I'm kicking myself for missing out on previous stories because I've heard nothing but good things. Why am I waiting until now to jump on board? I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. But the main reason why I took it out of the bag and board is I want to show y'all something. I want to show you just how good Marvel's scheduling is, okay? It says issue 1 comes out February 27th, 2013. That's when this fucking book came out. Marvel, you were a little bit late with this issue. Just a little bit. Because issue 1 was supposed to come out last week, according to this. But despite that, this was still an awesome read. Loved it. It was great stuff. Bendis, McNiven, thank you. I'm on board with this. And I apologize to any Guardians of the Galaxy fan for waiting until now to jump on the bandwagon. So, there you go. Guardians of the Galaxy 0.1. I'll put it back in the bag here in a minute. Alright, we got a double shot of uncanniness here. We're going to start with Uncanny Avengers, number 4. Rick Remender, John Cassidy. Woo boy. Well, I would say this is the conclusion to the story involving the Uncanny Avengers versus the Red Skull. You can kind of call this a conclusion to that story. It's like the Avengers, it's like the team wins, but kind of not. You know, it's like they just they keep putting up a stand until Red Skull decides to run away, and they collect themselves and look at all the casualties and what they went through and how they almost destroyed each other because of the Red Skull's mind powers that he stole from Charles Xavier's brain. And you know, I really honestly cannot call this a win for this team, which is a bit of a letdown because this is the first story arc of this series, and the team doesn't actually win anything. As a matter of fact, lots of people died during this fight, and that's not a good note to start on for this particular team. That's just my opinion. I'm like, so yeah, the Red Skull retreated, but this was in no way, shape, or form a victory. This was a kind of okay, let's call this a lucky break. They got a lucky break because, let's face it, they were getting their asses handed to them. And I love the homages to classic comic book covers in here, especially the Days of Future Past wink and nod in here. Brilliant. Loved it. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it was a great story, nicely written. I just can't call this a victory for this conclusion. Not at all. But the last... oh, boy. The last page. Really, Rick? Really? 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 The last... Oh. I'm not saying a damn thing. Look at the last page. What? What? But yeah, Uncanny Avengers number 4. Nice, nicely written story. Was no victory, and glad Wolverine didn't die, because in the last issue, Thor smashed him with his hammer, and Wolverine's healing factor was negated when it happened. So he's severely crippled, but at least he's still alive. Okay, but yeah, great stuff. Love the artwork, and can't go hard. You can't hardly go wrong with Rick Remender. So yeah, I'd say pick this up. We're gonna end this review with Uncanny X-Men number 2. You know, God knows I am not the biggest fan of Emma Frost, but I gotta say that is a nice cover. Brian Michael Bendis, once again, solid writing. Chris Bachalo, I say Chris Bachalo. That's how I pronounce it. If I'm mispronouncing Chris Bachalo's name, then I do apologize. But the artwork in here is good. This is some of the best artwork from Chris Bachalo I've seen in a while. I mean, granted, I'm not completely fond of his Spider-Man stuff, but I'm loving his X-Men work, and it seems like the artwork in here seems like he took his time a little more with the drawing and the details in this particular series. It's very, very well done. We get to learn more and more about this. Mainly focuses on Scott's, Dick Summers. We get to see more what's developing on his behalf and everything. We get to learn more about him and the mutants he's taking into the new Charles Xavier School for the Gifted, and I'm like, I mean, to open up your own school for the mutants and name it after a man that you killed, you just want to say, you fucking dick. But despite that, we do get notion in here that despite the fact that he killed Charles Xavier, Scott Summers did still respect him, and he wanted, and I guess that's why he decided to reopen a Charles Xavier school out of respect for Charles Xavier, even though he fucking killed him, dickhead. But we learn more about what's going on with their powers. It turns out not only did they lose control of some of their powers, but at times they actually the terms that they use in here is they like flicker on and off. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't at all. And Emma, not having her mind control power, not having her telepathic powers anymore, at least she's not able to control them anymore, and it's driving her crazy. She says that she's grown used to hearing all these thoughts and all these images in her head going on and all of a sudden to hear complete quiet and see nothing in her mind. It drives her to the point where she screams. It's like it's driving her nuts, and she can't hear anything up here. She can't see anything up here. But her telepathy flicks on and off at times. Sometimes she can use it for a very small portion of time, but the majority of the time, it's gone. But she is still able to go to diamond form. Okay, I guess that counts for something. And, Scott has basically no control over his eye beams, has to wear glasses again like he did in the old days. Magneto's bald for whatever reason. I don't know. Magneto doesn't have full control of his magnetic powers anymore. Illyana's got new powers that she didn't have before. And Emma openly admits that Illyana scares her, which is okay. But this focuses mainly on introducing the mutants that they took in to the new Charles Xavier School, and we get to learn more about them. We get to learn more about what their life was like before they were a mutant, and or after they discovered that they were a mutant. Some are willing to accept their mutant life now. Some are afraid of it, which is understandable. And then some of them are like, I don't care, you know, and okay, which is interesting. But it's basically veterans with rookie style control of their powers teaching rookies, which, in all honesty, it is a formula for possibly great storytelling. But when you're talking about people wanting to teach other people, that idea just flat out sucks. Just because they're veterans, they're qualified to be a teacher when they can't even control their own powers anymore. It is kind of weird, but at the same time, this was a very, very well written story. And but the end of the book, Scott and his team, they're in deep shit. They are in deep shit. And I'm not going to ruin the ending of the book. I'm just going to say, get on board with the new Uncanny X-Men. I really think it's worth your time. I really did enjoy this. Bendis is doing a great job. Love Chris Bachalo's artwork. Very, very nice. But I'm ready to see how Scott and his team get out of this in the next issue. Ooh, they're in deep shit. Well, that's all I got for this week, everybody. I want to thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, please. I'm approaching 1,000. I would like to get to 1,000 subscribers, if you don't mind. Subscribe to my Blugoblin X channel. I just posted my Robin music video tribute. I'd like to take a look at that and tell me what you think. Don't forget about my friends at Dark Avenger Inc, Dark Avenger Inc Plus. Don't forget my student, TheMtVernonKid. Follow me on Twitter or on Tumblr. Twitter at Blugoblin01, Tumblr at just Blugoblin. You won't regret it, I promise you. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and until next time, I'll see y'all later.